And we are back. Thanks for clicking on the link. Welcome to Good Energy. Enjoy the content, and everyone have a blessed day. And we're back, guys. Welcome to Good Energy. We report on sports. We're back with a special edition of the Heavyweight Championship of the World. That's right, Anthony Joshua, who lost his titles to Oleksandr Usyk last fall. This is the rematch. Stay tuned for this preview and prediction video where we're going to cover this bout in detail and give you a winner at the end. But let's get right into it. Anthony Joshua is 32 years of age. He's the younger fighter here, not necessarily the more experienced fighter overall, but the more experienced professional fighter. He's got 26 fights, 24 wins, 2 losses, one of course coming to Oleksandr and the previous coming to Ruiz, which he did defend successfully. He's got 22 wins by knockout. Anthony Joshua has always been known as a pretty hard puncher, pretty solid puncher with great knockout power. He's a taller fighter. He's 6'6". He has the height and reach advantage, 82-inch reach, and he fights orthodox. He's from Britain, of course, and look, guys, he's known to draw in the biggest heavyweight crowd there is. He's one of the biggest heavyweight stars in the sport, probably next to Tyson Fury. However, I'd say Anthony Joshua is definitely the bigger star. Usyk's the older fighter. He's 35 years old. He's got 19 professional fights, less professional fights, but his amateur career is amazing. Over 350 amateur fights, a ton more amateur background than Anthony Joshua. So overall, Oleksandr's the more experienced fighter. You have to consider that. He's got 13 knockouts, so he's also a pretty solid puncher. He's a shorter fighter. He's 6'3", shorter reach. This is the huge difference. So he fights southpaw, and southpaws have given Anthony Joshua problems in the past. Of course, this one in particular is the reason why he's now the challenger. But due to the rematch clause, Anthony Joshua did not want to take step-aside money and enable a possible fight with Tyson Fury and Usyk. Anthony Joshua wants his titles back. So let's get into it, guys. As I said, Usyk is the shorter fighter. He's also the naturally smaller fighter, but he's a good smaller fighter. And Usyk, historically, I mean, since he started out at light heavyweight, fighting around 175, 180. He would move up recently to cruiserweight, fighting at around 198. We saw him defeat Bellew, which was a pretty good win. That's a match a lot of people thought he would lose. Tony Bellew's he's a pretty solid fighter. He's known to be a pretty decent boxer, and that's a fight that was a huge step up for Usyk. Me personally, I thought that he would beat Bellew. I personally thought that Usyk just had a lot more skills. However, Bellew's a tough fighter. He's a really tough fighter. He would move up to heavyweight. We saw him defeat Derek Chisora, which that was a big win in my opinion. Usyk came into that bout weighing 217 pounds. That was nearly 45 pounds lighter than Derek Chisora. And look, Chisora, a lot of people have to realize that weight and being bigger and potentially stronger doesn't mean everything. A lot of times there's advantages the smaller person will have, like speed, and in this example, speed is what killed Derek Chisora. I boxed for many years, and in the gym, if there was no one to spar, me being a welterweight, I would spar with the cruiserweights. These guys were 195, 200 pounds. We're talking like a 50-pound weight advantage. And a lot of times, the sparring, you would look at the size of me and the cruiserweight and you would say, oh, this guy's he's just gonna demolish him. But that wasn't the case a lot of times because I was quicker. I can get off quicker. I knew I had to move around and stick and move. And, if I stayed in one place too long, these guys, they get you up against the ropes. They could really beat up your body and do some work to you. But me knowing that I had to move around and be quicker, a lot of times that was the strategy, and that got me through these sparring sessions looking really good. And in the case of Oleksandr Usyk, that's exactly what he did with Chisora. So coming into this bout, or at least the first one, he weighed 221 pounds. He's going to weigh the same weight here in the rematch, 221 pounds and a quarter. And a lot of people have to understand there's been a lot of light heavyweights or cruiserweights in the past that have moved up. You look at Spinks, he moved up from light heavyweight, and we saw him defeat Larry Holmes a couple times. He did eventually lose his bid against Mike Tyson, a young, strong, fierce Mike Tyson. But sometimes size doesn't matter. Defeating Larry Holmes was a big accomplishment. We saw Roy Jones Jr. He moved up, and he beat Ruiz. That was an amazing bout. That was actually history at the time. John Ruiz was 3 inches taller. He weighed like 25 pounds. He was 25 pounds heavier. And, he was a well-known heavyweight. I remember watching that bout, and Roy Jones was essentially undefeated. I mean, he had the one loss on his career, which came to Griffin. But I think that was a premature stoppage. He was down. Roy Jones Jr. hit him while he was down. The ref disqualified Roy Jones. That gave him a loss on his career. He lost his title. I think that was a horrible decision by the referee. It kind of tainted his career. But he moved up, and look, John Ruiz had a 20-pound advantage. He had a 3-inch height advantage, several inch reach advantage, but Roy Jones Jr. would make history. I mean, essentially, Michael Spink was the only other person prior to him to successfully move up and capture the heavyweight crown, and that was history for Roy Jones. And look, we essentially saw it here with Usyk. He moved up, he defeated Anthony Joshua in the first bout, and that's to let you know that height and weight's not everything, and Usyk also proved it. A lot of people doubted Usyk. Me personally, I thought Usyk would beat Anthony Joshua. I picked him to defeat him the first time around, and a lot of it comes to do with ring IQ and experience. I think Usyk is definitely the smarter fighter. I think he's more experienced. I think he's quicker, and all of these things showed in the first bout. Usyk is a lot quicker. He's got better footwork. He's got better combinations, and he's just as strong as AJ, if not stronger. I mean, he rocked AJ several times in that bout. He rocked him in the third round. He rocked him in the 7th round. He rocked him in the 12th round. And a lot of what Usyk was doing was he was landing a jab, left straight, or he'd come with the right, left cross, or he'd fake right, and then just come with a left down the middle. So a lot of it was rocking side to side. He'd sneak in a left hook, and a lot of that comes from his experience. Look, both of these men are gold medalists. We understand that, but you have to understand that Usyk is very skilled. I mean, these Ukraine fighters, these Ukraine athletes from Ukraine, they're very talented. And Lomachenko, look at him. I mean, these guys, their training, their work ethic, it's very disciplined. And I mean, Usyk, look, he's not a natural heavyweight. He's not. I mean, he started, I remember watching him in the amateurs where he fought at middleweight, 165. So the reality here is he's very skilled. Now I want to take a look at AJ here. Anthony Joshua is no stranger to adversity. He's got 24 professional fights, 22 wins by knockout. He's very strong. He's got very strong knockout power. And look, you guys remember this guy beat Vladimir Klitschko. It seemed like no one could beat him. He essentially arrived on the scene with that win. I mean, he stopped him. Not many people stopped Klitschko. But the reality here is he's got some wins that I don't think he gets credit for. Of course, the win over Klitschko is huge. Alexander Povetkin, that's a huge win. But what about the win over Joseph Parker? I don't think he gets enough credit for that win. I mean, we're talking about someone that was undefeated at the time. Great jab, great ring IQ, that was a scary fight for Anthony Joshua. But look, he pulled it off, and he dominated by unanimous decision. Now, we know about the loss to Andy Ruiz, and a lot of people started to question his heart. This is when a lot of the haters and the doubters came out the woodworks questioning his heart. Does he really have the toughness? Does he really have the jaw? Does he have the chin? You know, a lot of people were saying Anthony Joshua has a glass chin. And look, Klitschko put him down a couple times, but he got back up. And he got back up in the rematch as well. He came out with a much more solid approach in terms of aggressiveness and the patience to switch from offense to defense. He was a lot more defensive there. His jab was beautiful, and he danced around Ruiz all night. Andy Ruiz had no answer for Anthony Joshua, and he showed why he should be champion. He got his titles back, and I think that was a great win. But the doubters are still out there. They question his heart. They question his focus. And look, when you make over $100 million in the sport, a lot of people start to question your longevity, your passion, and motivation to continue. These are all questions that are legitimate when talking about Anthony Joshua, because we see someone that's strong, muscular, has the power to put away opponents, but doesn't necessarily have the best chin. But the question of his heart and dedication, those are serious questions. But let's take a look at this rematch here with Oleksandr Usyk. Watching the first fight, it was clear to me that Oleksandr Usyk was the faster fighter. He was the smarter fighter. It seemed like he was more prepared, better ring IQ, and he just danced around AJ all night. His footwork was amazing. It just seemed like AJ was just outclassed all fight long. However, though, if you take a look at the judges' scorecard, through 8 rounds, they had an even fight. Through 9 rounds, they actually had AJ winning the fight, 2 out of 3 judges. So the reality here is maybe they saw a different fight, but most of the consensus with the boxing experts and fans, we agree that Usyk won the fight clearly, but the difference came in the last 4 rounds. So that's where the judges have the majority of Usyk pulling ahead between rounds 10, 11, and 12. So essentially, those are the championship rounds where AJ really didn't show up, especially in the 12th round. But in terms of AJ, he's essentially saying he's doing a lot of things different in the rematch. He's been tweeting that he's coming to knock this guy out. Usyk, there's been reports that he's bulked up, he's gained a lot of weight, but the reality is he hasn't gained a lot of weight. He weighed in the same essentially as last bout. We're going to see how he comes in tomorrow, whether he rehydrates up a lot, which me personally, I don't think he will. I think if he has a speed and footwork advantage, I don't think there's any real advantage to him bulking up 10 or 15 pounds overnight. He's going to lose the speed advantage, and I think that's going to favor AJ more. AJ, though, he's going to be 20 pounds heavier, but he's going to have to use that to his advantage. He does have a new trainer, and that is the big difference. 3-time trainer of the year. Garcia is in his corner now, and look, he's helped 14, something like over 14 fighters gain championship titles. Some of the big names, Nonito Donaire, Bam Bam Rios, right? He had a pretty good career. He had that bout against Manny Pacquiao. Marcos Maidana, right? Remember him? He took out Adrian Broner and had the 2 fights with Mayweather. I was at all of those fights, by the way. And of course, Mikey Garcia, right? We know he's helped Mikey Garcia reach championships in multiple weight divisions. Mikey Garcia retired. I'm not sure what's going on with that. I just think, look, Earl Spence just beat him too bad. But Mikey Garcia is a solid fighter. I think he would do well, especially if he went down to look, he can go down to 140. I think Mikey could get some championships today. There's a lot of talent at 140, but I guess he's done. But look, Garcia's training him, in my opinion, Garcia's an aggressive trainer. He's going to train him to be more offensive minded, but also work on that defense. I think AJ's defense has been sloppy. He drops his hand down at the wrong times. And look, he's the stronger fighter. I think just being dropped by Ruiz cold, I think that's really have some mental issues on his game, because he's hesitant to exchange now, and to the point where he's too scared to get off. And smaller fighters like Usyk can just go in here and stun him in the 3rd round, the 7th round, and the 12th round. I think Garcia's gonna fix that and use that 20-pound weight advantage to his liking. But the reality here is, this is about where I think Usyk is the better overall fighter. I think he has more skills. He's got better footwork. Me being a former boxer, I would tell you that Usyk wins all the check marks. But when it comes to the physical attributes, Joshua has the power advantage, the strength advantage. He's got the longer reach. He's got the height advantage. And I don't necessarily think he's tougher, but I think he's definitely more experienced at heavyweight, and he's been in there with tougher heavyweights. This is about where, if Garcia trained him right, which I think he will, Anthony Joshua is going to have to use his jab, and he's going to have to come with that right cross, his power shot, and be aggressive. He cannot fight defensive. Oleksandr Usyk, he's the more busier fighter. He has the better combinations and punch IQ. Anthony Joshua's gonna have to be offensive minded in this bout. He's going to have to get off first. He's gonna have to score. He's gonna have to bully Usyk. He's gonna have to hit and hold, and he's gonna have to be more active. In the rematch of the Ruiz bout, he was a lot more active, a lot more cautious. He was on his bicycle when he needed to be. He avoided exchanges. This bout with Usyk, he's not going to really be able to avoid exchanges, because Usyk is the faster fighter. He's got the better footwork. So Joshua's going to have to hold his own. He's going to have to block, be more defensive minded, but he's going to have to get off first in these exchanges. He's a stronger puncher. You've seen flashes of him in this bout. Now, through 9 rounds in the first fight, the judges had Anthony Joshua up. Usyk started off a little slow. When he realized around that 3rd round that he deserved to be in there with Joshua, he started to get more comfortable. Joshua cannot let Usyk get comfortable in this bout at all. I think he's got to set the tone from rounds 1, 2, and 3. If Joshua can do that, then he could possibly win this bout. But guys, here's the prediction. You guys want to hear who's going to win. The reality is, the consensus, all the experts, all the boxing gurus, they're picking Usyk to win this bout. Me personally, I feel, like most of the older veterans, you've heard it a million times, and you know how it goes, but it's very so true. A good big man beats a great little man, and that's just how it works. If Anthony Joshua sticks to the basics and just works his powerful jab, follows it up with a simple right cross, that should be enough to back up Usyk every time he comes in. But he's got to know what Usyk wants to do. Usyk wants to jab, left straight. He wants to feint right, throw his left down the middle. And Joshua had flurries in the first fight where he caught on to the feint right, left straight, and he caught Usyk a couple times with that. Look, the left hook's going to be open when Usyk does that. He caught him a couple times with his own left hook. If he can continue to catch him with the left hook, I think he's going to have success. But he's got to throw that left hook out there a lot more. But he caught him a few times with that. That punch is going to be there. But he's got to get off first. And my prediction, I'm going to take Anthony Joshua to get his championship belts back. And I expect a trilogy bout in this heavyweight matchup, and the Tyson Fury bout, that's going to be pushed off for at least another year, because this match, there's going to be a trilogy. I have Anthony Joshua defeating Oleksandr Usyk and winning this bout on the money line. That's my official prediction. That's a risky one, guys, because if you watch the video, Usyk is a lot more skilled and talented. If Usyk does what he did the first bout successfully, he's going to win this bout. But if Joshua makes the changes, I feel he has the right trainer in his corner now to make the necessary changes. Robert Garcia is a great trainer, and I feel that's going to be enough for him Joshua just has to make a few small adjustments. He'll win this bout. I mean, the judges had him up through 9 rounds. He wins 2 more rounds, he keeps his titles, and Garcia knows that, and I feel he'll do enough to help Joshua get his titles back. And look, he's getting paid $60 million. That's a lot of money. So in Saudi Arabia, it's going to be a trilogy bout. If you saw that stare down, then you know Anthony Joshua means business. That was one of the longest stare downs I've ever seen in a heavyweight match. And look guys, a few minor changes and he'll get the victory, but a lot of experts think this bout will not go past 9 rounds, and a lot of experts think that Usyk will stop Joshua. It's possible, but I think the changes he will make in this camp should be enough to get the victory. This is risky, but this is also good energy, guys. We're going for Anthony Joshua to get his titles back. That's the official prediction here. Enjoy, guys. Join us later for some more tennis predictions.